Peace, King. How you feeling? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Good, I can hear you. How you doing?
Okay, okay. All is well, all is well. First and foremost, I want to thank you for coming on the platform.
Oh man, same. Likewise. Thank you for having me on the platform.
Yeah, it's definitely an honor. For the viewers who may not recognize you, let them know who you are and where you from.
All right, my name is Curtis King. I'm an artist and producer, originally from Carson, California, as well as the Inland Empire. I started off as just an artist and music producer. Through my production, I've been able to work with artists like Kendrick Lamar, Absol, um, Glasses Malone, Mack 10, Royce to 5'9". But I made a transition from that traditional industry into eventually getting into the content space because I saw a lot of my peers didn't have the access that I had to the kind of knowledge that I received. And so I came to YouTube and built a YouTube from scratch up to right now we're at 284,000 subscribers. And I did it the long way. I provided information nobody else was providing. I didn't lean on clickbaity titles. And man, it was something that it took a long route to get there, but I'm grateful for it because it built a lot of respect within the independent artist and music producer community. So now today I am doing clickbait. Now today I am reacting to all the stuff that is going on in hip hop news and trying to provide a perspective that I feel is more in line with where we're all at. Right, something more modern. So it's been a beautiful journey nonetheless. I'm also a father and a husband, so I will be remiss not to mention that.
That's what's up. Definitely last but not least. And you named some iconic artists, man. Those are some people's favorite musicians on earth. And you've been able to work with them, especially early on. And as a producer, a lot of times you don't get the flowers that you deserve because you're behind the scenes. So I definitely got to give you props for that.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, and I to this day, to ask my producer friends, I still don't necessarily see myself as a producer as much as I am an artist, which is where I've been placing my primary focus on as of recently. But it opened up a lot of doors and created a lot of conversations and opportunities that my work as an artist didn't afford me, but I'm grateful for it all. At the end of the day, just the ability to be creative is something I'm supremely grateful for.
Yes, indeed. Gratitude is very necessary. Now, I want to ask you this from your perspective, what exactly is the difference between the artist and the producer?
So, I mean, pretty much in the title, for those who are artists, their primary focus, at least when I describe an artist, is a recording artist. Your primary focus is the responsibilities of recording your music as a vocalist, writing your lyrics. Sometimes people like me, I call myself a DIYer and that I mix and master my own stuff. I create my own artwork, but live performances and all that good stuff. A producer is generally behind the scenes, and they're handling all the production responsibilities. They're helping to assist in bringing these records that you hear today, wherever you're listening to. Your favorite records were the product of some great producers collaborating. It's always a collaborative experience. And so, yeah, artist and producer, that's kind of where the variation lies.
Okay, I appreciate you breaking that down. Now, Carson, is that a part of the Los Angeles area or where is that exactly?
So Carson is like right in the middle of Compton and Long Beach. It's a city that often gets forgotten about only because, you know, um, when you look at it from the outside, at least at the time period that I was living there, it looks like a black suburb. In a lot of ways, it is, but it's unpredictable street to street. What you gonna get? It's a very diverse community, and there is, a lot of successful black folks out here, or out there, I should say. I'm not currently living there, but a lot of successful folks out there. But it's also, home to some really well known gangs too. And so it's being right there in the middle. It always had it described to me by my elders as when you got folks from Compton that made a little bit of money, first place they would go was a city over to Carson. And so, but it's also the city where I get my name from. half of my name is Curtis. People always ask, why is your name spelled with two S's? I went to a middle school called Curtis Middle School that was named after a pilot named Glenn Hammond Curtis. And, when I was at that middle school, I was the opposite of who I am today. I was very quiet to myself, you know what I mean? Shy art type of kid who played sports, talked to his friends, but nobody else. And when I conquered those insecurities that I had, I became Curtis King. And so that's my namesake. It's always a part of wherever I go and whatever I do. But yeah, that's Carson, California. Also the place that Razcast is from, as well as Absol and Booyah Tribe. Gotta shout out Booyah Tribe.
Legends for sure. Now I want to know, when did you actually get exposed to hip hop, and also what was the scene like in terms of West Coast hip hop?
My household, man, my household contributed to that, specifically my mom and my pops. Although they were divorced, both of them had a huge passion for music. They just showed it in different ways. When I was living in Carson, I was primarily at my mom's and my grandma's, my my grandparents' house, and my mom's will play everything from, the gospel music she was currently into to like I remember going through her CDs and tapes and finding Scarface to Fix, and I was like, "Hey, mama, what is this? What is this?" And she was like, "Well, I like the piano." I was like, "Okay, yeah, right." But she had that. She had Bootsy Collins and Parliament, and so it's like all these things I feel like are, even if they're not directly hip hop, they all been part of the DNA of hip hop. But go from there, my pops on the other side early on was playing, Ice Cube. He was playing some Easy E. He was playing MC Shan. He was playing a lot of West Coast artists and just hip hop in general. And so my introduction, Public Enemy was another one. My introduction was growing up. I got my first whooping for singing lyrics off of Fight the Power for Flavor Flav. Mother F him and John Wayne. That was my first whooping from music. And so my introduction was probably as early as I could speak, right? I don't remember my first hip hop memory, but it's always been a part of my upbringing since the beginning.
Ah, okay, okay. Now I would like to know, when did you actually begin to participate, and did you start off as a producer, or what was your entry to hip hop?
Yeah, I started off writing rhymes. Production was not in the plans for me. I thought that I was gonna always be asking producers for beats, but in the beginning, money was I started in about 2003. And at that time, anybody who remembers, like I was in high school at that time, but if you remember, producers were selling beats. It didn't matter if you had a name or not for some pretty crazy prices, at least for a high schooler. And so I wasn't in a position to pay for any beats and I wanted quality production. So what I first started doing was utilizing like, the Napsters and the Bear Shares and all of the Lime or whatever was out at the time and downloading instrumentals from producers all over. But even then, it was like a buddy of mine, we started a group together and we started noticing when we exchanged mixtapes between us and other rappers, we all rapping over the same beats. And so by a stroke of luck, went to a place that eventually became GameStop, but it was called Electronic Boutique. We went in there looking to get NBA 2K3 with Allen Iverson on the cover because he had a Dreamcast. We was gonna put both of our money together and do that. Uh, little did I know, God had a different plan that day. I was going through the used section right when we getting ready to check out. I was going through the used section of the PlayStation because I had a PlayStation, and I found this game, this double disc game called MTV Music Generator. And the promise on it was that you could make music on your PlayStation as a quote unquote producer. And I tell you what, man, we instead of getting NBA 2K3, we got that game. My buddy took it home the first night and he was like, "Nah, that's not for me." He was like, "You the dude that know all about computers, and so you go take it home." I took it home and it literally changed the next 21 years of my life. So ever since then, I haven't been doing the PlayStation game, but it was my introductions to what they call a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, and eventually became FL Studio. And yeah, that was how I got to production, was really as a means of, the homie didn't want to do it, so I was gonna do it, and I started to figure it out, and I started to slowly start to find a passion for it. Not to mention, even though she never taught me, my mom played the piano for longer than I've been alive, right? She played at the churches, mostly LA churches she played at growing up. But always music has always been around, especially music in the church too. So that was how I got into production. And I had no idea getting into that was gonna open up doors faster for me than what I was doing as an artist. But don't get it twisted. A lot of doors open for me as an artist as well. So that was my introduction to production, though.
That's amazing. And big shout out to the church, man, because a lot of us, that was our first performance, our first musical, our first play. You know, a lot of people in hip hop don't give it up as much, but that's where a lot of us got our first start at, in the church.
I was gonna say that's where I fell in love with the drums. Like you can hear the drums on a record and be like, all right, yeah, this is crazy if you're into that kind of thing. But when you watch a drummer, there was a young drummer named Michael that I grew up watched it in the church because I wasn't really paying attention to the pastor and what he was saying. Like there was no disrespect. My mind wasn't there. I would watch my mom playing on the piano and then directing the choir, and then I would see Michael just and doing all of these like tom rolls, and I'm just looking like, yo, I don't know if I want to play the drums, but something about this is hypnotizing. Oddly enough, or ironically enough, he was the first person that I ever met that had an MPC. So like his drumming was always there. So it's like these little pieces of my story that I'm realizing how much, God had a hand in all of these and introducing me every step of the way. Like I had no idea that was like seeing that NPC was going to be a preview of, my music production career, but in a lot of ways it was. But that all started in the church. First time I heard a choir and I fell in love with choir sounds that I still use in my beats from the church, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
How did you connect with Absol and Kendrick? Did you already have a relationship with them?
So I was already working on music for some years. Um, when I eventually moved from where I went to high school at, I went to high school for a couple years at a high school called Downey High. And eventually I moved where my mom was at, which was at my grandparents, where she was taking care of them. And I went back to the city only knowing people that I went to middle school with. Right. I didn't really know a whole lot of folks because I had been out the city for a few years. Came back and thankfully because of like MySpace and a lot of these social medias that were up at that time, no Instagram, no anything like that, but MySpace was literally the reason why somebody 15 minutes, not even 15, probably about 10 minutes away from where I lived at on my side of Delamo, one of my friends named Graham, he was like, yo, man, you dope at what you do. I'm like, yo, you dope at what you do. Like, we should link up. And I literally invited him over the house and he kind of gave me a lay of the land, how it currently was. And he was like, yo, you got to meet my guy, Ab Soul. At the time, Ab Soul wasn't signed to TDE. He was signed to a label called Street Beat Entertainment with Javante, another singer that has worked with TDE a lot. And so I never forget, Grim, I was working with him because he's still is a fantastic MC. He introduced me to Ab Soul. They introduced me to a group called Top Notch. But because of that relationship with all of them, it gave me the opportunity to work with Soul on a pretty frequent basis before he was signed to TDE. And I remember he was telling me, he's like, man, sometimes getting in the studio at the other spot is a little bit of a challenge because there's other artists. He's like, you're allowing me to get in here and, you know, cook up as much as I want. We're throwing ideas at the wall. To me, he sounded like a young Jay-Z when I started producing for him. So I felt like very, lucky to be in that position. But yeah, man, we just worked and worked and worked. And I remember when he got signed to TDE, he pulled up to my house uh in Carson off of Hilford in his car, and he got out the passenger seat and he showed me his TDE tattoo and he was like, oh, it's official. And he told me, burn me a CD full of beats. And he was like, I'm gonna come on, take it over to the studio and I'm gonna float it around. And then whatever happens, happens. And one of those beats that was on that CD was the first beat that you heard Kendrick Lamar and Ab Soul rapping together on a project of Ab Soul's. It was my beat called Watch Your Lady. And so, man, just being in that environment, getting to know Ali, getting to know Soundwave, Dave Free, getting to know Top, Punch, all them good folks. Schoolboy Q. Matter of fact, the beat that you keep hearing Schoolboy Q talk about, that he says eventually was one of the reasons he got signed was over my beat. My beat was terrible. It had nothing but 808s and gunshots. And he always talks about that being like a pretty pivotal moment as he was introducing himself as a rapper to TDE. So I was around in the very early years. You know what I mean? I was still very much doing things on my own in Carson, but they were very close by. But I would say that's probably the closest thing to my big break in the very beginning because it just opened me up to a lot of different networks because of that relationship.
Man, you took it all the way back to MySpace, man. I ain't gonna lie, I miss MySpace. It seemed like, things might have been a little better back then.
Sometimes I do too. They got a website that you can sign up. It's not MySpace, but it looks like the old MySpace, just in case you ever want to like have get that nostalgic feeling. I forget the name of it, but somebody developed a website that literally looks exactly like it. You could put music on there. You can have like the matrix codes fall down and all that good stuff. So yeah, man, some of that stuff is really simplistic and that simplicity is missed sometimes, especially when you think about all the responsibilities that artists and producers got to wear nowadays. Like it's a lot sometimes, and that was a very simple time for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely because like MySpace, you could design your own little page, just like you in your own little room, your own little world, and then people can come in to see what your layout is. You can play your music. If they don't rock with you, they ain't got to come in your room. But it's now like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You see what everybody thinking. You see stuff that you don't even really want to see a lot of times. But I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on Kendrick dropping the video and the back and forth between him and Drake.
Man, a dope thing is Kendrick reached out. He reached out because I did a bunch of he been following me on Twitter for years since I first met him, right? And I don't ever see him as somebody that's on social media. I still don't believe that he's somebody that's always on social media like that. But during that battle, I saw what this represented on a much larger scale, right? Even before all of this, I saw that there is an opportunity. When Drake came into the fold, music changed, some for the good, some for the bad, in my opinion. And when I saw that this was finally coming to a head, I could only think, just somebody who knows about like wars in the past and understanding history, that there was going to be a huge shift underway if what you think is going to happen happens. What I thought was going to happen was that Kendrick was going to do what he did. He's going to give us a master class. And man, seeing somebody that I consider a friend or somebody that, early on in my career, I got to see him go from doing, rooms where he's performing at 50 people. And then now there's these arenas. And even like I saw him a few years ago at the homie Be Fresh's release party. And I'm just like, man, I'm supremely proud of what you have done. And he's like, man, you're doing good for yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. But seeing somebody that, you know, I saw from the early years do this. First of all, I'm tremendously proud just as a friend, right? Secondly, as a West Coast artist, as a West Coast representative, I'm looking at this because I remember all of these dark years that it's been where media didn't necessarily cover West Coast music the way that they used to. I remember the time period where they would kind of ignore some of the contributions if it wasn't just a Kendrick or a Tyler or, even when they didn't consider Tyler a West Coast artist, right? He was just more so kind of a youth artist. I saw all those. I saw all those periods pass. So when this happened with the show, seeing all these different neighborhoods up there on stage, and looking like they want to be there, to me was already an amazing thing. Hearing all of these diss songs, which I feel like it's bigger than just diss songs. Diss songs to me traditionally in hip hop have been very like about the bravado and the anger and about like, disrespecting somebody. This was the first time I seen somebody get wrapped up and the general message is you're weird and you also need to grow up. Right. And and seeing him do that in that way to me feels more modern of an approach because there's a lot more perspectives out here that feel like their voices need to be heard and they are being heard. I thought it was a very it was a very, very classic yet modern approach that was something that just, man, watching the moment happen, it's the first time I've been excited to this level for something hip hop in a long time. Because don't get it twisted, even though Not Like Us is going crazy, even in Not Like Us, it's still very much hip hop culture. It's still very much West Coast culture. It's still very much the stuff that I came up on as a 39-year-old artist and producer. I never thought I'd see a day that you got 17 to 25-year-olds breaking down double and triple entendres on TikTok. To me, that was just like, as a lyricist who cares about the art form, you got to understand, like, I'm honestly blown away. So I covered all this stuff and I reacted to every single song that dropped, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about this one, Drake, but this one right here is crazy about Kendrick. And eventually he reached out, just like, man, I see what you're doing and I appreciate it. And I told him I gotta make sure my people see the bigger picture, my people being independent artists and my peers. And he's like, I said, what you're doing is going to bat for us. And he simply said, you're right, it's spiritual. Saw that, and I was like, all right, it's a green light on all of this stuff. And so I've been covering every single step of the way because I feel like there is a special moment here, but also there's a moment for Drake to really look at this and understand, even though if he may not see malicious intent in some of the things he's doing, it has a domino effect that affects a lot of people. And if he cares, this would be a time to do some self-reflection, and ask himself, can he see it from another point of view? And so what I've been doing is just the same accountability that I hope other people hold me up to.
Now, I wanted to ask you, did you ever get a chance to meet or work with the late great Nipsey Hussle?
So I never worked with Nipsey, but I did do a live stream with Nipsey and my guy Noah James. So I have a relationship with an artist, independent artist, legendary out here named Murs, legendary independent artist in general. He used to have a festival called the Pay Dues Festival, which was the biggest festival for independent hip hop. Um, I built a relationship with him as a producer, also as somebody who campaigned to get on Pay Dues. And so the year after I actually performed on that stage, he invited me to as well as the label I was on, Black Cloud, to be host of a stage. Well, one of the things that we did as one of the celebrations of the paid dues announcement of the people on the festival was we did a live stream. Little did I know that live stream was going to be me, my guy Noah James, and Nipsey Hussle. And Nipsey Hussle was there, and there's a video of it right now where we're just literally just sitting and announcing what's going on, what you excited about. He's talking a little bit about Victory Lap. It wasn't done at that point, but he's talking a little bit about that. I think he even like pulls the phone out and starts talking to Lauren London at one point. So it's just like, it's just one of the moments where in the moment I knew how big of a deal it was. Like, don't get it twisted. So many people want to say, Nip wasn't really celebrated until after the fact. It's like, no, if you were out here and you were in this music circles, the record business, music business, what, however you want to say it, you knew if you were just somebody who was a resident or a participant in LA rap culture, you knew what he was doing. You knew what he was doing for Crenshaw. And so, with that said, I saw it in that moment. I said, "This dude got he got that aura. He got something special that's going on." I had no idea it would manifest into what it is, but just from an entrepreneur standpoint, the things he was doing, um, I was watching a comedian named John Johnson, and he brought up a great point in that Nipsey did all this for the community. He had, initiatives where he was helping kids learn how to code. He was buying shoes for kids in the surrounding areas in the school districts. He did this off of a $8 million net worth. And that's not saying like that's any kind of chump change, but it's like there are billionaires who won't even do a fraction of the work that he attempted to do, right? And did do, I should say. So, yeah, I didn't get a chance to work with him, but I'm more grateful that I had an opportunity to be in that live stream. But also, too, I never forget when he released the $100 album. A few months later, I was inspired, and I was like, I'm gonna release a game box for my music as an artist. Put all my CDs in there that I've ever made. put my music videos, put my socks with my logos on them, all that. And then Respect Magazine covered it. And then they put inspired by Nipsey and he retweeted it. And so it's just like he followed me too on Twitter. So it's like I never had those other conversations. I never had the opportunity. God bless him. Never had the opportunity to have those other conversations. But yeah, highly inspired by his movement. Never had an opportunity to work on music, but the experience I did have, I'm very grateful for.
Oh wow, that's real cool that you got a chance to do that. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle, man. Definitely a legend. It's amazing to see people recognizing him globally. Not only for his music, but the things that he did in the community. Now I want to ask you: are you working on any current projects? You got anything coming up?
Right now, I'm working on music. That's my main priority. Content is paying the bills, right? I didn't come into this space to be a content creator. I came here to teach my peers, but along the way, I learned how to run a business in a way that I could, excuse me, in a way that I wasn't learning as an artist. I came into the YouTube space, learned how to create courses, learned how to do workshops, learned how to, do email sequences and understand that entire marketing field. And that actually helped me now at 39 to be probably the best at my business I've ever been as an artist. So now, with that in mind, I have a system of creating these videos on my YouTube that obviously generates income and opportunities, even interview opportunities, and then leveraging those for collaborations, for opportunities. One of those that got leverage was a project that I'm getting ready to complete this weekend. No title yet, but produced by and featuring my guy Iman Omari, who's somebody that I've been a fan of his music for so long. It was because of our relationship over the years, but specifically seeing the growth of my YouTube, that really kind of solidified a lot of things for us. So we almost are done with our project. I got new music dropping every single Monday on curtisking.com, curtisking.bandcamp.com. And I'm just getting the music out there direct to consumer, to the artist. I removed my music from streaming about 8 months ago. And so my primary focus has been, how do I talk to the people that matter the most? The folks that are showing up and they want me to talk to them face to face. And so it's just been a beautiful journey because this is the most music in my career that I've ever been able to work on, because when I was a younger artist, I was broke and stressed out. I worked on a lot of music, but I didn't have enough money to promote it, enough money to, maximize it. Now I can make music whenever I want, with whomever I want, and drop it the same night if I want. And I'm taking full advantage of that. And so yeah, what I'm working on right now is the album. Um and starting in, what is this, August, I'm going to be starting to do a workshop for artists that also want to learn how to go direct to consumer in the ways that I have. So uh, I don't know how this all finds its harmony, but damn it, I'm finding it. But music is always top priority for me, for sure.
Oh, okay, that's dope. That's dope. I definitely look forward to all of that, and I know the viewers do as well. Now, what's the best way for them to keep up with what you got going on? Do you got a website, YouTube, social media?
So curtisking.com is a great place to start. That should lead you everywhere else you need to go. curtisking.bandcamp.com is where you'll find the music. But the handles on everything is at Curtis King. At Curtis King. At Curtis King, you'll find everything that you need to find on Instagram, on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. YouTube is Curtis King TV. And yeah, from here we just gonna continue to build and um test new things out, break some stuff and put it back together in the process. But right now I'm just really enjoying the streak we've been on, enjoying this new way of being an independent artist is something I'm grateful for.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be grateful for, man. I want to thank you so much for taking out the time to stop by. It's been a very inspiring episode. I really appreciate everything that you have done, and I definitely look forward to the work that you have coming in the future, man. Keep grinding.
Look, likewise, I gotta give you your flowers here. Like, I've seen your interviews multiple times. I've tapped in when it was folks that I was supremely familiar with and wanted to know more. You're doing an amazing job. I love the fact that you keep them as short as you do, because it's really easy to consume, but you do great research, and I just salute you and continue to, send you as much props as possible. And I can't wait to share this with my audience. So thank you again for inviting me.